This is one of the showroom locations in Columbia. We wanted to showcase the new Kef Blade speakers, and we asked Stephanie to give us a full facelift on this space. Stephanie, can you show us or tell us a little bit about what happened in this space and how we got to this final beautiful room?
Absolutely. So the object of this space was to create a luxurious living room feeling while also being a media room and showcasing these beautiful speakers. I wanted to bring in some luxurious elements such as the walnut details that you'll see on the walls and on the ceiling, adding visual interest to what could be just a plain old square box. So we added some layers of structural detail as well as lighting detail. You'll see beautiful millwork on the walls, which we've also accented with lighting. Just really wanted to bring in the luxurious feeling by all of these layers of architectural elements and high quality materials.
Hey YouTube, today we're going to start our second phase of our design and build of a home theater. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the design. So come join me as I introduce you to one of Gramophone's best interior designers, and we'll take a look at how we could help design a space. So you would say when Gramophone is involved, we could pretty much make this a very, very simple process for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and we can make it a turnkey process. So we can design it, we can build it, we'll finish it.
Thank you again for joining us for part 2 of our series of design and build of a home theater with Gramophone. Today we have Stephanie Torowski from Gramophone's Kitchen and Design Center. Stephanie is our lead designer and manager of that group as well. And she's going to walk us through a couple of different things to think about when you're designing a home theater. Thank you again for joining us, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me, JP.
No problem, no problem. Well, the first thing we always want to ask is, hey, I got a new home or I got a space in the basement. How do we pick the space for a home theater?
So there's so many factors to consider when designing a space. We want to look at what is the optimal shape, size for a home theater. And I know being the designer with the AV team, I lean on you guys for recommendations on equipment, how much distance we need, how many speakers we need, things like that. So it is a joint effort in that development of the plan. But when we come into a home, typically our clients have an idea of where they'd like the space to be. And we just kind of listen to them and guide them to what we may think would work best.
And is there any spaces that may not work, but the client may have thought could work?
Sure. So spaces that are too short won't allow you to view a large screen. So we may have to compromise on what size screen we put into a space because of the depth of the room, or how many seats can we get in there. We're limited to the overall width of the space. So lots of factors to consider when designing.
And I know sometimes we come into a space that's completely unfinished, and we have these lolly columns that are holding up the house. Do they represent something that's structural that we can or cannot move?
So typically the ideal situation would be, a wide open floor plan. We can put anything we want wherever we want, but we are often faced with the structural components of a house. We will do our best to incorporate these structural columns in a decorative way, as well as any ducting. Say if the home theater's in the basement, we're dealing with ducting or plumbing or things of that nature that are just integral components to the home. We will dress those up so that they don't look like we just covered up some ducting. We added an architectural element to make it more functional and pleasing.
So if I bring Gramophone in to do a home theater design, are we just stopping at the home theater design, or can you help with the design of the whole space or the basement?
We can do the space planning of the entire space. So a lot of our basement projects in particular will include, say, a media room or a dedicated home theater that kind of grows out into a wet bar for entertaining, into a media room that is separate from your theater, or a gaming space. So lots of parts and pieces we can assist with in that. We can even grow out into the backyard from the basement. So lots of ways to grow with working with us.
That's awesome to know. That's great to know. So one of the big things a lot of our clients ask, what do we do about lighting? And how important is lighting in the design of a home theater?
So lighting is incredibly important in that It's a way for us to help a space feel more welcoming, more energized. It's a safety requirement, essentially. So I could get into technicalities, but I'm not going to. Specifically, there's 3 components to lighting. There's your overall ambient lighting, there's task lighting, and then there's decorative lighting. We try to achieve all 3 in each space that we design because they all have different specific parts to the whole, if you will. In this space in particular, we have our overall ambient lighting with our recessed lighting in the ceiling. Task lighting is also from that specific point. And then we have a lot of decorative options in here as well, with sconces, with LED tape lighting, accenting the ceiling elements as well as the bookcases and the wall features as well.
So with the lighting, does that play a role when we decide on, say, a projector or a large television? Reflection points and stuff like that?
Absolutely. So we're paying attention to where that specific lighting is aimed, where it's located in regards to the screen or the television, because we don't want glare. We don't want that happening.
Yep.
Because we're obviously focused directly on that vantage point. We have to make sure that it's complementary and not obtrusive.
Got it. So lighting is very important, guys.
Yeah.
Also, another thing that's very important that we try to touch base with one of our system designers is really the audio video. So when Gramophone comes into a space and we want to design everything, we have to worry about the audio video, we have to worry about the design and the build of the space as a whole. Collectively, we're working together. From your viewpoint, how important is the audio video design or conception in that space?
Well, absolutely. That it's very important in that you, as the audio visual designer, have a specific discussion with your client about what their dreams are for the space. So we need to be sensitive to that and helping to achieve those goals of, I want the largest screen I can possibly have, or I want 2 subwoofers, or I don't want to see any of the speakers. So the designer needs to take that information and make sure that we're respecting those expectations from the client, as well as you, the designer of the audiovisual.
So when we're placing stuff for, say, an Atmos type theater, we're going to take considerations of the recessed cans. We're going to take considerations of the acoustic treatments that may go into the space as well. Distances for the screens, how the lighting's laying on the screen or anything like that as well. So those are all design elements that we all take into consideration, as well as you should be considering as well.
Right.
When you're building your space, lighting is a very important thing. Audio video is just as important.
Absolutely. Yep. It all works together.
Great.
To create the best experience.
Great, great. So a client comes in, we go into contract for a design and build. What do we do for inspirations? How do we make the room look like something they're going to enjoy?
So the inspirations come from the client, really. The initial conversations with the customer are crucial to how we develop the design plan for the space, because most likely the clients thought about what they like, what colors they like, what architectural elements they might like, or may have inspirations, images that they want to share of the space. So that's really kind of our building foundation for developing the design plan. And some clients don't really know what they like. So we do have to guide them occasionally, but it all starts with the conversation. It starts with what they're comfortable with, what colors they like, what architectural period they like, and what is going to look good in their home too.
And I feel like sometimes this portion of the process when we do a design and build could be the longest because we got to figure out colors and schemes and stuff like that. But once we get past this question and answer, basically selection process, I think it's a little bit more smooth sailing.
Yeah.
The customer doesn't have to necessarily give us any more real decisions because the lighting has been figured out, the seating's been figured out, the audio video has been figured out. So we're basically waiting to put our studs up and start building the room.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is it a good idea for a customer to have ideas maybe from Pinterest or other avenues to say, hey, this is something I'm looking for, this is the style I'm looking for?
Sure, yeah, always. Any information that a client can give to us is definitely beneficial, because otherwise we are kind of just, I don't want to say shooting in the dark, but essentially that is what it is. We have to present them with ideas for them to say, yes, I like, or no, I don't like.
And And then do you ask the client to see other spaces of the house so you could get some ideas of what they like?
Absolutely. Yep. I will ask to tour and maybe take photographs of other spaces that they do enjoy, so that will help me to guide my design plan.
Guys, we've talked a lot about home theater design and media room design. Now we get to actually see what a space looks like after Stephanie and our design team have touched it. This is one of the showroom locations in Columbia. We wanted to showcase the new Kef Blade speakers, and we asked Stephanie to give us a full facelift on this space. Stephanie, can you show us or tell us a little bit about what happened in this space and how we got to this final beautiful room?
Absolutely. So the object of this space was to create a luxurious living room feeling while also being a media room and showcasing these beautiful speakers. I wanted to bring in some luxurious elements such as the walnut details that you'll see on the walls and on the ceiling, adding visual interest to what could be just a plain old square box. So we added some layers of structural detail as well as lighting detail. You'll see beautiful millwork on the walls, which we've also accented with lighting. Just really wanted to bring in the luxurious feeling by all of these layers of architectural elements and high quality materials.
So can you talk a little bit about the ceiling for me and how we got to this layered ceiling that we see right now?
Absolutely. So we were constricted a little bit with ceiling height. So in order to trick the eye and make this space feel grander, we added kind of a layered, stepped bulkhead, if you will, and faced it with this beautiful walnut, which kind of gives the impression that the ceiling is much higher than it really is. It's great.
That's pretty awesome. It makes a room feel much larger.
Yeah.
And then we have a lot of layers of lights in here. I see some linear lights, I see some wall sconces, some traditional recessed cans. How do we get to this point with the lighting as well?
So we always want our 3 key points of lighting. So we want our ambient light, i.e. our ceiling lighting. We want our task lighting, which can be our ceiling lighting, but could also be sconces or things like that. And then we have our decorative accent lighting. So we wanted a good cohesive blend of all of that. With lighting control, it's really beneficial to have all this extra light that we can control on different levels, and really creates an atmosphere that you enjoy, that you feel comfortable in, that either energizes you or relaxes you.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. And this was all done by our Gramophone design and build team. Mm-hmm. We helped with the carpentry, the trim work, all the carpeting, all the painting. Everything was done internal with our Gramophone design and build team.
Absolutely.
Stephanie pretty much took the project management role and the design role, and this is exactly what the end result is. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Gramophone YouTube channel.
So our design package typically includes a home consultation. So we'll come out to your home, we'll measure the space that you're wanting to remodel or turn into a home theater. Sometimes you already have your ideas. The client already has their preferences set on where they want it, but we as professionals will come in and guide them. Maybe it's not the right location because of acoustics or potential other structural things. Yep. So we'll come in, measure the space, evaluate it for the likelihood of this remodel. From that point, we generate a conceptual plan.
Okay.
We'll come back to our offices and generate plans with our CAD software, bring you in, the client, bring the client into the showroom. We'll walk through the plan, the layout. With that, we include not only the floor plan, the conceptual floor plan of the space, but elevations of any pertinent millwork or columns like you see in this space, as well as a lighting plan, which is very critical to start talking about in the beginning. And also including the audiovisual aspects, yep. Where the projector is going to be located, yep. How large is the screen, where the speakers will be located. So lots of things are included in that initial design consultation and presentation. So
you would say when Gramophone is involved, we could pretty much make this a very, very simple process for you.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and we can make it a turnkey process. So we can
Fantastic.
design it, we can build it. we'll finish it.
Excellent. And one thing that I did notice is in all of our projects that we're doing is that we're also offering all the little knickknacks in the space as well. Are we
Yes.
picking those things out as well?
Absolutely. So
Fantastic.
that is part of our process. We will provide selections for furnishings, for accessories, for decor, for ways to personalize your space.
That's excellent. Excellent. How important are the acoustical panels in a home theater?
Acoustic panels and acoustic treatments in general are extremely important in a home theater. So in this room in particular, we've addressed acoustics by installing acoustic insulation in the walls prior to even doing the drywall.
Yep.
And then on top of that, we added acoustic panels, which are not only decorative, but offer another level of acoustic control. It'll help prevent those echoes that you might hear in a space that doesn't have any soft treatments at all.
So I see this particular acoustic panel. Can we get them personalized a little bit?
Absolutely. So this panel has been custom printed. We can pretty much create any image as long as we have the rights to it. Our panel supplier will print large format, small format, pretty much any size that we can do. We can even wrap walls
Oh, that's
in a
awesome.
custom printed fabric.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And do the panels always have to be on the wall?
They don't. So we can actually install them on the ceiling. We can install them in the corners of the space. There's many ways we can treat a space acoustically, even with ceiling clouds. So yeah, lots of ways we can personalize it in that way.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
great. Hey guys, we transitioned over to our Gaithersburg showroom. We're going to talk a little bit about room flow and theater seating with Stephanie. We've talked a lot about designing a home theater, but how important is the flow of the home theater?
The flow is probably the most important part of the home theater. So say for instance, we're talking about this space. We're entering in from the back of the room, which allows us to have seating in the central part, focuses on the screen, but it also gives us aisleways that we can easily pass through different rows of seating. We also want to consider platforms. If we're able to have a riser in the theater, how high is it going to be? Is really dependent on what the room space allows, but we also really have to consider how deep we're building it. I know with Gramophone, we always want to use a riser that is about 7 feet deep. It allows our seating to fully recline. People can still safely pass in front of you. Also allows space between the back row and the front row if they're both reclined. So flow, there's a lot of moving parts with it, but it's incredibly important.
And when we
building
design a
space.
room, do we feel like the sight lines are all met based on the design? Do we try to make sure that all those sight lines are met?
Absolutely. So we have to consider what we're furnishing the space with. We're looking at heights of the seats, the headrests, how far they recline, how tall our riser is, and making sure that all of that works with our screen. Ultimately, the whole purpose of the theater is to view the screen. So we have to make all those calculations and adjustments based on those materials we're adding.
And I guess before we even make our first nail in the piece of wood, we're going to have these designs in place so people could see, hey, this is the lines that we're going to keep for our seated people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Fantastic, fantastic. So in this particular space, I don't see a recliner at the furthest point in the rear.
That's correct. So this is what we would typically call a back bar. We use these if we don't, say, have enough depth in the room for another riser, but it gives us another level of seating because we can have bar stools back here, which also some of my clients really enjoy because if say their kids are hanging out in the back, it's a great place to have food and snacks where they're not in the leather chairs, potentially, making a mess.
And then we talked a little bit about chairs. How important is the seating?
The seating is incredibly important, something really to consider. You want to look at sturdy construction, whether it be hardwood or metal frame. You also want to look at mechanicals, make sure they have good warranties. You want to look at a firm seat too, because if you're spending a lot of time in that chair, it's going to be necessary to have more support. I know a lot of people lean towards a more squishy, kind of comfortable seat, but for the long term, if you're spending hours there, it's going to feel a little more uncomfortable.
Got it. And I see such a different range in theater seating. We have seats that may be $1,500 and they go up to $6,500. What really dictates that range?
So you'll see a big range based on the materials that are used, how it's constructed. So you have the options of bonded leather, which is kind of a leather vinyl kind of combination. That's going to get you a lower price seat. It's going to get you the same look essentially, but it may not wear as long as say 100% top grain leather. Also your mechanicals. So the mechanisms that actually recline the seat are a big part of that cost factor, as well as warranties that come with those said seats. You know, some manufacturers have 5-10 year warranties, which are going to be great investment pieces for you to enjoy your theater for years to come.
And when we look at seating, the ordering process, a lot of these seats allow us to pick and choose different finishes, leathers, fabrics.
Even up to the seat width and depth for comfort level. Some of our seating actually has articulating headrests, lumbar support. So there's lots of options when it comes to that seating.
And I'm assuming when we do the plan, we figure out exactly how many seats we're going to do in the space.
Absolutely.
We can make sure that the space has the reclining length that we need as well, correct?
Absolutely, yes. That's all figured out well ahead of time so that there's no surprises come install day.
And then I'm assuming we'll make sure we have outlets in the floor.
Yep.
So the seats can recline.
It's a standard of ours, yep, to include outlets in the floor, in the face of the riser if we're adding a riser.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, thank you, Stephanie, for telling us a little bit about flow and seating.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I got one last question for Stephanie. What other design services does Gramophone offer?
Gramophone offers pretty much the entire suite of interior design services, as well as additions, renovations. So anything from kitchen, bath, basement, living room, bedroom.
That is awesome.
Yes, the entire suite.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again for watching the video. Don't forget to hit the like button below. Also, click to subscribe if you want to see some more videos like this. And again, you could always visit Stephanie over at our Kitchen Design Center by Gramophone showroom in Cockeysville. You can visit myself over here in Columbia in our showroom here. We also have a great experience center in Timonium along with the standard showroom over there. And we also have another design center down in the Gaithersburg location.